Good evening and welcome to your 2056 Perfect League World Series coverage. I am your host, DRC, and tonight I have the great honor and privilege of bringing you play-by-play and analysis of our Perfect League World Series. And boy, do we have a good one tonight. So welcome to everyone in the chat. This is our maiden voyage on the mothership. This is our maiden voyage on Out of the Park Twitch, as opposed to the DRC Nomad Twitch. And I'm very excited to share all of that with you guys tonight. So a quick background on me for anyone who hasn't seen me stream before. I've been streaming Out of the Park now for about 3 months. I'm a member of the DLL sub-community, and I'm a Perfect League champion myself. So I was able to be lucky enough to get hot in a playoff run in the Perfect League 5 or 6 weeks ago and take down my 8-inch trophy. And hopefully we'll be able to share some of those insights and some of those things that I've learned on the PEL battlefield with you guys tonight as we break down this matchup. But really the theme that we're going for tonight isn't just another play-by-play, isn't just another flavor of seeing someone call the highlights that are generated by the engine. We're looking to do more than that. This is really a celebration of the week that was in Perfect Team, not just Perfect League. You know, there's a lot of people playing in a lot of different leagues, and if you won your league, I want to hear about it. I want you to be in the chat right now. Tell me what league you won. Tell me what league you're moving up to now as a result of it. If you're a diamond level champion who's moving up to this meat grinder next week, good for you. Let's hear about it. So let's have some fun tonight. Let's talk about who's experienced success at which levels, who's moving around within the Perfect Team universe, and then let's break down this matchup here and who will end up being crowned as the king of Perfect Team, the top of the pyramid for a given week. Yuka's got Mike Lowell hitting 256 in bronze, so that's a win in and of itself. All right, so before we jump into breaking this down, just for anyone who again is not familiar with my streams in the past, here's the schedule upon which I broadcast. On Thursdays, I do This Weekend Perfect Team with your kidneys, and we break down all the cards that Chris drops, but we do more than that. We have a little fun. We've got a little game show we've mixed in there, and then we end the night always with a special segment. This last week, we ended with a segment on Bronze Tournament meta. If you missed it and you play Bronze Tournament, you're going to want to check that out. That was a deep dive and one that has been very well received by the community. And then we're going to do this show on Sundays going forward. So if you like to receive roughly 9 packs every Sunday evening, well, then we're going to be able to fulfill that need for you. And if you also want to enjoy some play-by-play color of the highest level play and the highest level champion within the Perfect League universe, we're going to bring that to you as well. On Tuesday, I've got my show that I call Reading Between the Lineups, which is really a one-on-one interview where I talk to one of the members of the Perfect Team community. We've had Chris on there. We've had MacJax on there. It's a good time and a good opportunity to really get to know the person behind the Discord persona. All right, so let us break down what we're looking at tonight. Let me get all my screens in order here. Perfect. All right, so we have got Free Dave Brown's Lisboa and Arenas going up against the Miami Tamps. So let's break them down one by one. We'll start with Free Dave Brown's team. And as we're doing that, we'll go ahead and pop up our matchup analyzer that we're going to be leveraging significantly tonight as well. All right, so the way that I like to break down teams, the way that I like to communicate and really diagnose what these teams were all about is we go through their stats, we talk about their home ballpark, We talk about the choices that are being made by the manager with regards to players and deployment. We talk about the path that they've taken to get to this point, as well as some owner history. So we'll start there with Free Dave Brown here. So as we look at this team, the first thing I look at in general is run scoring and run prevention. And so from a run scoring perspective, Dave was right in the middle of the road, 8th in the league, 766 overall. Run prevention, right in the middle of the league as well. 8th in run prevention as well at 714. So we've got a slightly positive run differential here, but really nothing standing out here as an overly offensive team or an overly defensive team, just kind of good enough to be dangerous. Where this team gets really interesting, where this team gets almost borderline unprecedented in my broadcasts of doing these World Series, is in the home-road split. At home, Dave was underwater, 39-42. An under 500 win percentage at home. However, on the road where many a manager before him have seen their ships cast upon the rocks, Dave thrived. Dave was able to pick up 50 road wins this year on his way to an 89-win season. So definitely very notable there. As far as the month-to-month breakdown or the volatility day-to-day, as it were, within the league, there's really no huge standout months and no huge disaster months either. Your August and your April were solid with 15 and 17 wins. Your June was slightly underwater there, but more or less a pretty even performance through and through. As we look at Dave's path that he took to get to this point, he took out a 2-time champion in round 1, Jay Mallett and the Time Lords, who coincidentally I will be interviewing tonight for my Tuesday show coming up that will air on Tuesday of next week. And after he was done going the distance with the Time Lords, he went the distance again with another PEL stalwart in the Glendale Golden Grizzlies, a team that has perfectly resume a mile long. Looks like somewhere in the neighborhood of 12, 13 perfect league seasons there. So Dave goes the distance in round 1 against a 2-time champion, goes the distance in round 2, and then in round 3, he's able to get past Witchwood, who I know Witchwood has been around, and they're a solid team as well. They've been into the Perfect League World Series, if memory serves. So definitely a very tough path traversed by Dave. He was able to get an extra rest day because he was able to finish a day earlier than the Tamps did. But they are here now. And let's look at the history of the Andarinas as well. So this is Dave's 8th Perfect League season. It is his 3rd attempt at the Perfect League playoffs. And he hasn't won a championship yet. So if he's able to take home the hardware tonight, then he will be a 1-time Perfect League champion. So definitely been in the makings for a long time. Now, Dave is also part of the DLL sub-community, and he's a 4-time DLL champion. And that's really the path that he's taken to get to the Perfect League, now 4 times. So definitely a team to be reckoned with. On the other side of the tree, let's talk about the Miami Tamps. So we'll do the same level of pathing here. We'll start with runs scored. And so they were actually 9th in runs scored, 789, and then 9th in runs allowed as well. So as far as World Series go that I broadcast, this is the first time that I've seen 2 teams come in both below average in runs scored and runs allowed. So we don't have a standout unit here. Between the 2 teams, we don't have a high-flying offense, and we don't have a stalwart pitching staff that shuts it down. So that's kind of odd. From a home road perspective, the splits are pretty even here. So 568 at home, 549 on the road. Nothing too unique there. Now, they did experience some volatility day to day. Day 1 for the Tamps was a 10-16. I wouldn't call it a nightmare, but that's a tough hole to dig out of. And boy, did they dig out of it right away. In May, they go 19-9. And then back that up with another solid couple of months before getting more hot again in September. So interesting season to say the least for the Tamps. As we look at their ballpark, it's a mostly neutral ballpark. So there's some variance here. Average is down a little bit, power's up a little bit, but this is going to play mostly neutral. It's going to play mostly neutral. As we look at the player decisions here, we've got Stan Musial at first base versus right. That's the exception, not the rule there. Most teams in Perfect are running either a Roger Connor in that situation, or if they're a righty cheese park, they've got a Cap Anson, or maybe they've even got a Wade Boggs there. If they're, it probably wouldn't be Boggs because Boggs would be third, or playing third versus right, but you get the idea there. They've also got Jackie at second instead of a more glove-oriented option. So you see the choice being made by the Tamps to go for offense there by having Jackie up the middle. However, he counters that with Ozzy at short, the preeminent glove of Perfect. And now the other thing that stood out to me is Babe Ruth every day. So Babe Ruth's not only playing left, he's playing right. And you see the triple slash line that he was able to put up in a neutral ballpark here, 231, 336, 485. And as I look at this box score and I see 163 games played, that tells me that the Tamps had to earn their way into the playoffs via a game 163. Or maybe that was a division deciding game 163 over the Durham Los Toros. And that's what that was. So that is the Tamps. Let's look at their path. So the Tamps started with the Richmond Rhinos, operated by none other than Jesse Roach, who was my guest on last Tuesday's show. And he was able to take that series in 4, and then followed that up by going the distance against the Bluffton Humidity. And then after the Humidity, he was able to take down the 90s expansions. And that brings him to today. As we talk about his history, this is his 4th Perfect League season, 2nd time in the playoffs, and he's also searching for his first Perfect League title as well. So, regardless of our outcome tonight, we are going to end up with a first time, with a new and unique Perfect League champion. So that will be fun to follow. One thing that I didn't touch on, I want to go back to, is Dave. So Dave's ballpark is entirely neutral. So no deviation there. And then from a player perspective, there are some unique choices here. So Hornsby playing first base versus right. You don't see that very often. Hornsby versus right, you either see at third base or second if someone's going really offensive. But Hornsby here at first base. And then you do see the uber defense middle infield. So Ozzy Smith and Appling. You can't get too much more defensive than that unless you were going, say, Ozzy Smith, Pop Lloyd. And then as we go versus left, you see Cal Ripken come in for Appling there. So continuing the trend of prioritizing defense. And then Ivan Rodriguez has taken the other half of the catcher platoon for Dave. And then I got to call out that he's rocking John Smoltz as well. So you don't see much John Smoltz in Perfect. Heck, you don't see much John Smoltz in Diamond anymore. And Dave's rocking him for 32 starts and 182 innings. So those are our 2 teams tonight. Who is going to win and in how many games? Are you taking Lisboa? Or are you taking Miami? Dishnet asking a question of what are the advantages of having a neutral park versus one skewed towards one side of the plate arm. So, Dish, when you skew towards one side of the plate arm, I think that you have greater opportunity to really run up the score at home because other teams are building their parks for either neutral or for their own home park design. You know, they're not building their team with your park in mind, and so when they come in there and face your team that is entirely tuned with that in mind, you know, they're at a disadvantage. And one of the things that I try to do when I'm tuning up my park like that is win 2 out of 3 at home So be somewhere in the neighborhood of 650, 660, 670 in my home win percentage, and then just break even on the road. Win 500 on the road, and then run it up at home, and then you'll end up typically in the playoffs in perfect. So we've got some people coming in with some guesses here. We've got some Tamps at 6, Tamps at 5, Tamps at 5, Lisboa 6, Lisboa 7. All over the board here. All over the board. We are 4 minutes from our first games, or from our first game sim here, which is going to get us into play-by-play. Dish says we're going 7 tonight. We'll see if he's right. Now let's check on pitcher rest. So oftentimes when you get into a series like this, your ability to mix and match your arms as you want are limited by how much rest time you've had. And we know that Dave has a little bit more rest, and so let's see what his situation looks like. He's got Pedro at full rest. He's got Smoltz and Spawn both at full rest as well. And then he's a sim away from having Walter Johnson. The one thing that he won't have is his intended number 2 starter to be able to go in game 2, which won't be too big of a deal. So I expect to see Pedro game 1, and then we'll likely see Spawn in game 2, and then flip it over to the road games. As we check out Miami, you know, for having to go 7, they're in pretty good shape. Or they didn't go 7, they went 6. So pretty good shape here. A rotation that intends to start with Pedro won't be able to. They'll have to start with Maddox. And actually only being at 60% pitch fatigue will leave them in somewhat of a conundrum for game 2. We'll see how that rest regenerates before game 2. Rufus Roughcut dropping some knowledge on the chat. So it is Lisboa. Now Dave has creatively gotten DLL into his name because he is part of DLL. So, Lisboa, you can drop the D here, and then you can also drop this L and that L, and then you end up with what Rufus is talking about within the chat. Lisboa Andarina, which is a bird. All right, so as we get ready to start our play-by-play, let's talk about a tool that we use to analyze our matchups here. So look in the bottom right corner of your screen, you see some numbers. You see some names. And this is a tool that we like to use to break down what it is we're seeing. So maybe we're starting a game and we've got John Smoltz on the hill. We can quickly pop up John Smoltz, the starter, and see how he's been doing in perfect. And so these statistics are perfect league stats for the past 3 years. And so John Smoltz in perfect has logged a 4.78 FIP over the past 3 years. And the same can be done on the hitting side. Let's grab some Huey Jennings. And we can see that versus right, he's triple slashing 259, 310, 373. All right, we are mere seconds away from our Game 1 sim coming in. And as it comes in, we'll go right into the highlights. I'm going to darken the screen as I set this up, just to make sure we don't have any spoilers on our hands. Yeah, Walnut, I wore this new shirt for you. I had heard enough about my shirt blending into my background, so I went ahead and changed it up. All right, so listed starters for game one are Spawn and Maddox. Spawn for Dave, and then Maddox for the Tamps. All right, we should have our sim in. Let me try to reload that, and we'll be on our way. We've got to do this in somewhat of a unique way, given that I'm not in the perfect league, so it's not quite as simple as it was when I used to be in the perfect league broadcasting these things. But I'll get to work on getting back in there for you guys. Not getting the results in yet, so let me just refresh this. Reader MJ asking how my DLL season went. The answer is not well. I think I ended up winning 88 or 89 games, but I did not get a playoff berth. Port Dog heading back to Perfect League. Congrats to you. Yeah, I think that Extreme UW is heading on as well. And Extreme UW has been someone that I've been talking to about his team build for some time. So congrats to you. All right, just troubleshooting a little bit of game setup here, so give me a minute, and we'll have the kinks all ironed out. Aha, we've got it. We have got our highlights. Let's jump right in. Here we go, guys. Game one of the first ever Perfect League broadcast here on the Out of the Park Twitch channel. Let's have some fun. And for the Tamps, we see Greg Maddox on the mound. And for the Lisboa and Arenas, we see 4 same-side hitters in that lineup. Let's get started and see what happens. We'll start the game off with a swing and a miss, strike three. Down goes Ty Cobb. Not what you expect to see with Greg Maddox on the hill. And while we've got Maddox on the hill, we'll go ahead and flash up his splits as a starter. You see that he's a below league average FIP, below league average whip. Does a good job of home run prevention. Still in the top of the first here, Jackie Robinson comes up next. The pitch to him. Jackie cranks that one to center. Center fielder over, misplays it, and it goes over his head. Jackie on his way to second. He's got that easy. He's not stopping there. He's on his way to third. And he's got a sliding in, triple, misplayed double, misplayed error, whatever you want to call it. I'm guessing the game will have it as a triple, and it does. And the Tamps find themselves in early trouble here in the first. And thanks for the clarification there on Dish. This is face of the franchise Maddox, not legend. Now, as you'll see from the splits, not a huge difference there. See slightly more strikeouts, slightly better whip, slightly better FIP, but all in all, very similar cards. And we've got our first scoring position opportunity here in this 2056 World Series, and it comes in the form of Rogers Hornsby, who will bat now with one away in the first. And we'll flash up Rogers Hornsby split versus right. Full count. The pitch. Grounded to third. Fielded. He'll go across to first in time, but the run does score. And Lisboa takes an early lead here in game one. Let's fast forward to bottom two. Willie Mays comes up for the Tamps, and he'll bat with Stan Musial on first and one away, facing Pedro Martinez. The wind and the pitch. He walked him. 2 on now with 1 away. Brings up Jackie Robinson, who's worked himself a full count against Pedro Martinez. The pitch. He walks him as well. Pedro getting himself into some trouble here in the second. He'll now have to get out of it with Joe Mauer. A ground ball away from escaping this, and an extra base hit away from getting into even deeper trouble. We'll pull up Joe Mauer's versus right statistics, and we'll contextualize them against Pedro Martinez's versus left. So advantage here still to the pitcher. Pedro Martinez, one of the best arms in the game, and Mauer, even versus right, is a negative bat value within Perfect League, but does have enough slug and enough bat to create some problems. 0-2 count here, 1 away. Big moment in the second. The pitch. Mauer grounds it to the pitcher. To home for one. To first. Not in time. Pedro does get the lead runner at home. They're not able to complete the double play, which will keep the rally going for Ozzy Smith. Not known for his bat. He'll have an opportunity here to use it to put the Tamps on the board. 0-1 count on Ozzy, the pitch. Ozzy grounder to short. Easy play, short throw to second. Inning over. Lisboa out with no damage. We go bottom three now. Another highlight for the Tamps. This time we'll start with Hornsby at the plate and Gwynn on first with 1 away. 1-2 count, the pitch. That ball's cranked to deep right center. Off the top of the wall. Hornsby on his way to second. Jackie's not even stopping at third. The throw will go to third, where Hornsby slides in with an RBI triple. Make it 1-1 and a tie ball game here in game one of the World Series. Next batter up is Stan Musial. Musial will bat with 1 out and Hornsby on third, and an opportunity to give the Tamps their first lead of this series. The pitch. Musial grounds it to second. Easy play, easy throw, but another productive out results in another run coming across. Make it 2-1 Tamps. We go top four now. Face of the franchise Maddox still in there, and he's working against Tris Speaker here with Rogers Hornsby on first and nobody away. The pitch. He gets into one. Deep right field. Forget about it. Speaker plays long ball for the Andarinas, giving them a lead. in this seesaw affair so far. Make it 3-2 Free Dave Brown. Another highlight coming up here for Free Dave Brown, as Hornsby will bat with 2 away and Jackie on second. 1-2 count on him. Loops it into left, a base hit. Jackie gets to third. He's going to try to score. Here comes the throw. Not in time. Make it 4-2 Andarinas as they extend their lead here in Game 1. Big time warp as we've jumped all the way to the top of the 8th inning, and we see Joe Mauer flashing that ever so fashionable purple undershirt for the Andarinas. And he'll face Trevor Hoffman here with 2 out in the 8th. We'll show you some Trevor Hoffman stats for good measure. Hoffman versus left, still a very effective pitcher, well beneath perfect league averages for all of the categories you care about. And he'll face Mauer here with 1-2 count. The pitch. Mauer loops it into left, a base hit. A 2-out single for Mauer. We now go to the bottom of the 9th. Free Dave Brown's Lisboa Andarinas will try to protect a 2-run lead, and will have to do so going through Mays, Robinson, Mauer, and they've got their own Trevor Hoffman on the hill. Two count. Hoffman comes set and delivers. Little lazy fly to left. Can of corn should be easy, and is. Speaker makes the grab, and we've got 1 away. 2 away now, and Free Dave Brown 1 out away from grabbing home field in this series and taking Game 1. He'll face Joe Mauer. The 1-1 pitch. Grounder to second. He's got it. Over to first in time. Game 1 goes to the Andarinas as they gather on the field and leap as if they've won the World Series. Let's go to the box and see what went down. So as we look at the pitching, both pitchers were good. Pedro was just better. Pedro did yield 7 base runners in 7 innings and a couple runs, but was able to avoid the long ball, which is something that he can struggle with at times, and was able to keep the damage down to 2 runs. On the other side of the box, we've got Maddox, who yielded 11 base runners through 7, including 10 base hits, and yielded 4 runs. Both bullpens were clean. Both bullpens with pretty limited outings. Hoffman, after a 20-pitch Game 1, could likely come into Game 2. On Free Dave Brown's side, you've got Feller and Hoffman, both with limited appearances there. Both could likely be available for Game 2 as well. As we look at the box score from the hitting perspective, Dave's biggest hitters of the day were Rogers Hornsby going for 2 for 4 with a couple of ribs. We got Speaker, who played long ball. Speaker hit that big home run in the 4th off of Maddox. 2-run shot. Jackie collected a couple hits as well as Mauer did. And then Miami just couldn't get going with the bats. When you're facing Pedro, Feller, and Hoffman, that's a tall task, and they weren't up to it, at least for this game, as only Gwynn, Hornsby, Robinson, and Mauer dented the stat sheet with a base hit, and none of them grabbed more than 1. So we'll go ahead and update our graphic on the top right and give Free Dave Brown Game 1. Instead of saying Dave, we'll make it say Lisboa. There we go. All right, and we should be moments away from a new sim. So let me darken the screen as I attempt to pull that new sim. And we'll have Game 2 before we have an off day as we shift things to the Lisboa ballpark. So those that had picked Dave to win the series in some form or fashion have to be feeling good after that game one. And when you start with 2 games at home, if you're the Tamps, you definitely don't want to lose both. So bordering on must-win territory here as we enter game 2. All right. Looks like the sim could be in. Let's go ahead and load it up. Yuka's going to water her duck. I don't quite know what that means. Yeah, Big Red Fury picking up on the fact that Free Day Brown likely had one of the best road teams in all of Perfect this week. And was able to do that in game 1 as well. Here we are for game 2. And we will start with the Tamps throwing their face of the franchise, Pedro Martinez. So we'll go ahead and load up our matchup analyzer to show you some Pedro stats. Pedro, one of the very best starters in this game, as the stats right there certainly show you. And he'll face a lineup that's getting hot. So as anyone who has followed my broadcasts in the past, we have seen these emojis reign supreme. And when fire hitters get going, they often stay going. And Dave now sports Cobb, Speaker, and Mays, all with the fire going. Let's see if they can tattoo Pedro here. 1-2 count to Cobb as we start game 1. Cobb, grounder to second. Easy play. 1 up, 1 down as Jackie throws him out. Bottom 1 now. Tamps up at the dish, facing a face of the franchise, Warren Spahn. And Willie Mays has himself a runner in scoring position here with 2 away. Hornsby's on second. He'll try to bring him home here. Spahn comes set, delivers, grounded to short. Oh no! We've got an error at first base, and that's going to score a run, and Willie Mays will end up at second base. Hornsby unable to make the play at first. It said it was a high throw. Not sure who the error is going to there. Likely the shortstop. So that was Ozzy Smith on that throw. Now we do see Ozzy sporting the snowflake there. Now did the snowflake have anything to do with that throw? I don't know, but that's pretty atypical for Ozzy to airmail a pretty routine play like that. And it's 1-0 Tamps on an unearned run. We go top 2 now as Free Day Brown will try to even the score. Joe Mauer will be first at the dish to try to do so, and he's got Tony Gwynn on first with 1 away. The pitch. That ball's cranked into the right center field gap. Gwynn on his way to third. Mauer's got extra bases for sure. Gwynn's going to head around third. He's going to try to score. And he will. Make it 1-1 as Mauer hits an RBI double, scoring Tony Gwynn. Enough doing in the second. Now we move to the third. And Dave's Ty Cobb will lead off this inning with a 2-2 count. The pitch to Cobb. Cobb, ground ball base hit down the right field line. He's going to go for extra bases. The throw to second, not in time. A leadoff double for Ty Cobb as Dave will look to get things going here in the third. The very next batter is Tony Gwynn, and it's time to break out our matchup analyzer to see what we expect in this matchup here. So we'll go ahead and load up face of the franchise Warren Spahn versus left. We'll load up Tony Gwynn face of the franchise versus left as well. We see that Spahn is very effective versus left-handed hitters with an excellent sparkling 3.14 FIP. Very, very low walk rate and incredible home run suppression. On the other side, we see Gwynn with some yellow. Yellow's certainly not bad. The bat value has dipped below 0 in our last 3 years segment. But the batting average is strong. 294 at average. We'll see what happens here. 2-2 count on the pitch. Looper into center field, base hit. Cobb around third. He'll try to score. Throw goes all the way through, is not in time, and Gwynn takes second on the throw. Make it 2-1 and Arenas here in the third. Or excuse me, 2-1 Miami Tamps in the third. Still in the third. Rogers Hornsby now comes up. And as we showed you the Warren Spawn versus left before, we show you the versus right. A much different story there. And if it 'tis the season to see some green, and that's what Rogers Hornsby will give you versus left. You see an absolutely sparkling profile there for Hornsby, and we'll see if he's able to extend this lead for the Tamps now. 1-0 count on him. Spawn delivers, and that ball's crushed! Just forget about it! The center fielder didn't even move! Estimated distance of that ball out of the park, won't even guess. Far, far away is as precise as we can get within the text of the sim, because that ball might have gone 700 feet. The Tamps extend their lead to 3 on an absolute moonshot homer by Rogers Hornsby. That green paid off there. It's green as a Christmas tree. We now go bottom 5. The Tamps have extended their lead another run. Make it 5-1. And Babe Ruth is looking to do some more. We'll load up Babe Ruth versus Wright. We've got a new pitcher in the game as well. It's an oldie but a goodie. And it's Bobby Matthews, one of my favorites. Now the meta has come and pushed him towards the back burner of effective relievers. Doesn't mean he doesn't have a place. But as we see from this matchup here, advantage goes to the hitter as Ruth does some damage and really can slug versus right-handed pitching. And Bobby Matthews in our small 308 innings pitched sample and perfect has really struggled with left-handed batters. 2 on, 2 out. Let's see what happens. Two strike count on Ruth. The pitch. That ball's crushed into the gap. It's going to score 2. Ruth on his way to second. He'll stop there with a 2 RBI double. And this game's really getting out of control for the Andarinas. Now down 7-1. I have never heard this before on the game. Listen to this chant. That's incredible. Has anyone else ever heard that before? Let's get more of that going. That's good. All right, next we've got Willie Mays at the plate. Willie Mays will bat here in the top of the 8th. And Dave needs a lot, and he needs it in a short period of time. He's got 4 outs to work with and needs to close the delta on 6 runs. He'll have to do it against David Price. And David Price, while one of the best pitchers in the game versus left, does struggle versus right. And Willie Mays, while he is no longer the dominant force versus right, can still wreak some serious havoc versus left. Advantage in this matchup here absolutely goes to the hitter. And Dave could use every bit of it. 3-1 count. Yeah, so maybe you guys didn't hear it, but there was like a let's go chant playing on my side. I am hearing things. 3-1 count, let's go. Price delivers, and Mays crushes it. Deep to right. Oh no! Grab the guac and the sour cream, because it's Oppo Taco time for Willie Mays, cutting that lead in half. We jump all the way down from 7-1 to 7-4. Now don't party too much, because we're now in the top of the 9th, and there's only 1 strike left for Free Dave Brown, and Mariano Rivera has come into the game to finish this one off. Mariano Rivera, one of the best pitchers in the game, the preferred closer of many Perfect League teams. And he'll face Ozzy Smith, not known for his bat, with 2 outs here in the 9th. Ozzy Smith of the 224, 284, 293 triple slash line. 2-2 count. Rivera winds and delivers. Strike 3 called. That's going to do it. And the Tamps have taken game 2. It's their turn for interpretive dance on the infield dirt, and they're taking that opportunity to do so before a staring contest breaks out. And now we're tied 1-1 in the series. Let's look at the box and see what happened. So in game 1, we saw Dave's Pedro take the reins and run with it. And that's exactly what happened in game 2 for the Miami Tamps. Their Pedro went 7 innings, giving up only 5 hits, only 7 total base runners, and only letting 1 cross home plate, striking out 7 in the process. And the lead that they had built up was able to counteract the storm that David Price brought upon them with that 3-run homer that he gave up to Mays late in game 2. Hoffman then gets an out in the 8th, and then Rivera comes on for a very clean 9th. As we look on Free Dave Brown's side of the box here, Warren Spahn struggled. Warren Spahn got lit up pretty good. 4 1/3 innings, 9 hits, 7 total runs, only 6 earned. We had that Ozzy unearned run in the first, as Ozzy made his what appears to be his second error in the postseason. And after Spahn went out, Bobby Matthews came in and shut it down. 2 2/3 innings of clean baseball, and then Eddie Plank put in 1 run to close it out. So now we head for an off day. We head for an empty sim in 3 minutes. And we will go to Free Dave Brown's neutral ballpark. Neutral in every way. A stadium in which Dave lost more than half his games this year. And the Tamps were around 550 on the road. So the Tamps have absolutely brought themselves back into the series. And they are ready to look to take advantage in game 2. As we look at the pitching matchups to come, game 3 promises Walter Johnson for the Tamps versus 100 legend Maddox. So let's look at what Walter Johnson looks like as a starter. So Walter Johnson gets that incredible stuff boost in the bullpen. And as such, there's actually a very significant difference in his starter numbers versus his reliever numbers. Now, there's 2 effects at play there. One, you have the stuff boost, which is giving him a higher K per 9. We'll see that effect when we toggle over to reliever. And 2, as a reliever, your manager is often able to put you into better matchups than you are placed into as a starter. As a starter, you're having to face a VR lineup, a versus right lineup, that's going to be chock full of left-handed bats. Whereas as a reliever, you can come in and oftentimes have a much higher percentage of same-side hitters. So take a gander here in the bottom right as we see Walter Johnson, the starter, FIP below league average, WHIP right at league average, strikeouts underneath it, walks and homers underneath it as well. When we toggle over to reliever, you see a much rosier picture. The FIP drops a ton. The WHIP drops a ton. The K per 9, is that almost doubling? So 6.7 all the way up to 11.3. Congrats to Crazy Katie for making next week's Perfect League. Congrats. I believe you've been there many times before, so you know exactly what to expect. So Walter Johnson goes for the Tamps, and we see 100 legend going for Free Dave Brown. 100 legend Greg Maddox. And Maddox, we see a great walk rate, great home run suppression, and then slightly better than league average FIP and WHIP. Doesn't strike out many people. Oh, it's an alt team visit for Crazy Katie. Good for you. Good for you. So let's take a look at these lineups and see who's retained their fire. So on Dave's side, he's still going with Speaker Cobb Mays. Ozzy's still rocking the Ice Cube. And then from a pitching rest perspective, the only pitcher that really cost himself availability in Game 3 is going to be Bobby Matthews. So Bobby Matthews threw 39 pitches in Game 2, so he's not going to be able to rest up in time for Game 4. Not that he's a critical component of the bullpen. Dave's probably looking to feed most games through Hoffman and maybe prioritizing Seaver and Ruffing on the way there. David Price was Dave's best reliever, the 2.21 ERA. As we look at Miami, wrong Miami team, we see Hornsby and Ripken. They are adorned with their own fire. Ripken only plays VL. What other champs do we have in the chat? We've got Crazy Katie going on. We've got Extreme UW going on. Who else have I missed in the chat? Who's heading up to Perfect? Who's heading up to Diamond for the first time? Who's getting to Gold for the first time? Where are my champions at? Rich Jimmy says it's not him. Rich Jiminy. Brent 3232. What league do you win, Brent? Vulcan heading up to Diamond. EVC lost her World Series, or his World Series. Brent on his way to Bronze. To me, guys, the grind of working your way up the perfect team ladder is so much of the fun. Be a little bit better than you were last week. Figure out what hole within your team you need to address for the week to come. If you got relegated, what do you need to fix? What do you need to fix so that the next time you're up, you don't face that same fate? That's the game to me. That's the fun. Iterate and iterate and iterate and change. Tune your ballpark. Tune your lineup. Look at the data. Park factors are Jay Modenhall's demise. Well, you should watch some of the streams that Kidneys and I have. We talk about park factors a good bit and how to have your park factors working for you. At a bare minimum, your park factors need to not be hurting you. But ideally, we get them to a point where they're working for you. We're 11 minutes to the next sim here. Let's look at some league leaders within Perfect to see what players were really bubbling up and being successful at the highest level. So as is pretty typical from a batting average perspective, you have Gwynn running away with this category. Some Cobbs will sneak in there, as you see here. I'd be curious to see if any Boggses ever bounce in here on big weeks. Probably not. And then from a power department, you see Ruth. You see two Ruths here. Let's see how much Ruth is being played in Perfect. I'm curious. So as we do Babe Ruth, I'll pick both versus left and versus right. So we see 1,800 plate appearances in the past 3 years. So 1,800 plate appearances, slashing 220, 317, 451. So that's 768 OPS, certainly not bad. Now, if you have to choose between Ruth and Cobb, you're going to choose Cobb. So I'd be curious to see on the teams that he's playing what piece is missing. Is it that Tris Speaker is missing, and so Cobb's in left, which allows Ruth to DH, which I believe is what the Tamps have going. But we see Ruth on this home run list with Hornsby at the top of it, 42. That's a pretty big number. Ernie Banks. Ernie Banks used to live on top of this list right when he came out. This is a really good season by the Glacier Grizzlies. I wonder if they were playing in a righty cheese park. 263, 10, 508 slash. I don't think Ernie's getting as much run as he once did. Here's Ernie Banks, 7,700 plate appearances. That's definitely not nothing. The bat value very significantly negative. If we just isolate the VL, you see it get closer to 0. So Sid the Lizard looking for a lefty infielder badly. You know, your list of meta left-handed batting infielders is not very long. You've really got Pop Lloyd. And depending on if we're talking about third base, we could extend that to be Boggs, George Brett. But other than that, I can't really recommend anyone. I mean, Ozzy Smith will bat left-handed versus right-handed pitching, so he's a switch hitter. You can count him. But there are not a ton of left-handed batting infielders that can do much with the bat. And even Pop Lloyd won't hit much. Pop Lloyd's going to be there for his glove. You're going to put him down in your lineup. Let me pop open Pop Lloyd's stats. So here's Lloyd versus Wright. Very significant negative bat value. Doesn't get on base a ton. Doesn't slug at all. And if I open it up to be both versus left and versus right, the story only gets worse. I mean, that being said, Pop Lloyd's a good card. You know, middle infielders do not hit well. Ozzy Smith does not hit well. Like Luke Appling is one of the better hitting true middle infielders that give you plus defense, and he doesn't hit much either. Here's Appling right here. Negative bat value as well. Seven minutes to the sim. Fabic looking to see how Ripken's doing in perfect. Let's take a peek. Cal Ripken Jr., face of the franchise. So you do see a negative bat value. Again, he's a middle infielder. So you see negative bat value. That's not the end of the world. If we isolate to just versus left, you see it goes positive. So 752 OPS. The on base, a very livable 326, right at perfect league average. The slugging right at perfect league average as well. Modenhall looking to see some Huey. Here's Huey versus left. Yeah, I don't have enough data on the new Rose. I will soon. But I don't have enough data yet for him to show up on here. Let's head back to the stat leaders. So on base percentage, you see a potpourri here. Cobb, Gwynn, Anson, Hornsby. So this Anson, I would almost have to guess, would be a righty cheese park. That's a ridiculous triple slash. Look at this. 332, 405, 550. That is really juiced for the Richmond Rhinos. So that's Jesse Roach's team. From a slug perspective, you see a lot of the familiar suspects there. Hornsby, Jesse's Anson, Cobb. Why don't we show middle infielders here, given that that's what we're talking about. Here's your shortstop leaderboard. So a lot of Jackie at the top of this now. Jackie is not a player that I would recommend playing defense at shortstop for you. So some of that can be netted out by looking at statistics like WAR. And so Yount was your highest driving WAR player within Perfect League this week. But I would also submit that WAR is an inexact science and is not the end-all be-all, especially for heavy defensive positions like shortstop, second base, catcher, center field. The thing about Jackie is, like, when he first came in, he was just absolutely killing everyone with the bat. And at this point in the game, he's kind of a neutral hitter. I mean, I wouldn't say neutral. He's obviously better versus left than he is versus right, but he's not standout. So versus left, his OPS doesn't jump over 800. It is a positive bat value, although albeit slightly, at 6.49. And as we go versus right, he goes slightly negative, but still well above 700. So Jackie is absolutely deployable as an everyday player, but gone are the days of you being able to dream on a Jackie Robinson season where he OPS is 950. Nuke Lelouch asking what position Banks plays in Perfect. I'd say that most teams aren't playing Banks at this point. If they were, I would say second base would be where most of them would reside. He's not going to kick Hornsby off of third, and he's not going to unseat a shortstop. I think the bat's not good enough for what you have to give up in glove to go from an Ozzy or a Pop down to Ernie. And with Cal Ripken providing actual bat value versus left and likely giving you a higher play percentage as well defensively, I think he would just be objectively a better shortstop option. So one thing I forgot to do after that last sim was put within our status box the win for Miami. So we'll do that now. And we're 2 minutes from our Game 3 sim. No, so Bailey, we've already been through the off day. So in a couple minutes, we'll have another game. Gorgo 2005 has a Banks with 5 consecutive Gold Glove awards. Kudos to you. As we turn our focus back to the World Series here, again, we're expecting Miami's Walter Johnson to face Lisboa's Greg Maddox. 100 legend Greg Maddox. Yeah, as a Cubs fan, I was totally shocked when we got Ernie Banks because not shocked that he was the face of the franchise for the Cubs, but the week that he dropped, the hint was first baseman. And while Ernie Banks definitely did play first base, and in fact he played more first base than anywhere else, I wasn't hip to that jive yet, and so all of my guesswork and speculation was not expecting the Cubs to drop then. And when we got Banks, I was really excited. And I wanted to see if he could be an answer, could break into that, what was at that point a very established middle infield meta, which was most often dominated by, Ozzy, Pop, Huey, Appling, maybe some trained Knapp in there as well. And I think me, just like many other people, threw Banks in there, got him trained around the infield, see what that bat would do. And in the end, the on-base percentage just wasn't enough to unseat those other guys. The bat wasn't enough. So even though he held some home run records and held some home run wins within Perfect League, he ended up being moved on for other middle infield options. If I'm being entirely honest here, I was rooting for a Ryan Sandberg face of the franchise, but that's entirely biased. Sandberg was the my favorite player growing up, the player that really got me into wanting to be a middle infielder, and just all around good dude. All right, let's see if we've got a sim in. Perfect. We do have a sim in, so let me darken the screen and get right back to it. Extreme UW wanted Ron Santo. Not a bad choice. It's just traditional, third base cards have a hard time breaking the meta. And it will only get harder from here as we've got Boggs and Hornsby in there. Who's going to break into that meta now? All right, let's boogie. We are starting here, and we've got Lisboa's beautiful home ballpark here that appears to be placed right in the middle of a neighborhood with big taco advertisement down the left field line. We'll see if we get our fair share of Oppo tacos here in this 3-game set in his home park. And we'll start with Maddox versus Ty Cobb. We see that we've only got one fire on each side. Speaker for Dave and Hornsby for the Tamps. Maddox will face Ty Cobb to start us off. He's got an 0-1 count on him to start the game. The wind and the pitch. Cobb, little dinker, fielded by Maddox over to first, one away. And we are underway in game 3. We go top 2. Still the Tamps at the plate. And they've got the Babe, the Sultan of SWAT on first base, as Jackie Robinson heads to the dish with 2 away. 1-1 count. Jackie crushes it into the gap. Babe Ruth on his horse. He'll head to third. Fielded in center. Ruth's going to try to score, and he'll do so easily on a sliding RBI triple, 2-out triple by Jackie Robinson to give the Tamps a 1-0 lead. Still in top 2. Maddox trying to limit the damage to 1 here, and Mauer's going to try to do anything but that. 1-2 count. The pitch. Mauer slices it down the right field line. First baseman didn't even move. Mauer's going to end up with a double. Make it 2-0 Tamps here in the second. We go bottom 3, and Dave gets his first highlight here. And that highlight's going to be brought to you by Luke Appling with Joe Mauer on first. Luke Appling, one of my favorite middle infielders. And the reason is because he's able to get on base. He's able to play middle infield caliber defense and get on base versus right-hand pitching. You see that .328 on base percentage there. Very rare among middle infielders that can actually give good defense. Everyone else, Ozzy, Pop, Cal, none of them can get on base versus right-hand pitching like Luke Appling can. So we'll load up face of the franchise Walter Johnson as well and show you his versus right numbers. Very strong. 0-1 count on Appling. The pitch. Appling grounds it to third. It's short and weak. Long throw to first. Not in time. Appling beats out an infield single. 2 on and nobody out now for Ozzy Smith. He's got a full count on him. The pitch. Smith loops it to center, and that ball will get down. Now they're loaded with nobody out. So CFED dispelling the notion that the fire indicator has anything to do. Now CFED, all I'll ask you to do is to watch more of these broadcasts, because we have seen time and time again, at least the appearance that they do matter. But what you're sharing here has been the corporate PR line to this point. All right, we've got Ty Cobb now. Cobb up with the bases loaded versus Walter Johnson. And we haven't had a chance to see the beauty that is Ty Cobb's statistics versus right. Look at that greenery in the bottom right of your screen. A 293, 376, 485 triple slash. And he'll face a Walter Johnson advantage absolutely to the hitter in this case here. The pitch. Cobb, fly ball to center. He skies it. It's deep. Is it deep enough to score the run? No. The runner will not even attempt it. Mays makes the catch, quickly comes to the cutoff man, and the runner on third, Joe Mauer, didn't even attempt it. That brings up Jackie Robinson. Now, we've looked at Jackie's stats in our in-between time before this game, and we saw that he does a pretty decent job versus same-side pitching. A barely negative bat value, and he's got a 3-1 count on him. The pitch. Jackie grounds it to third, fielded across to first in time, but a run does score. The double play was off the table for Rogers Hornsby. He had to go get the out that he could at first base, and that gives Lisboa the lead. And they'll try to extend that lead as Rogers Hornsby faces Walter Johnson here with 2 away in the third. You see Rogers Hornsby in the bottom right corner is a bat value positive versus that same side with a 263, 25, 443 slug. 1-2 count, the pitch. That ball gets away from the catcher. He's going to try to score, and he does. Make it 3-1 Lisboa on a pass ball by the catcher. Joe Mauer unable to handle that offering from Walter Johnson, and it ties the game at 2. Now Hornsby has an opportunity to give the Free Dave Brown the lead. Full count, the pitch. Grounder, not well hit. Who's going to field it? The pitcher grabs it, doesn't have a throw. No play available to him. An infield RBI single for Hornsby gives Lisboa a lead here in Game 3. Still in the bottom of the third, Hornsby on first via that infield single, and Tris Speaker comes to the plate. Tris Speaker, an oldie but a goodie, a guy who's been around and in the meta for a very long time. And you see his triple slash in the bottom right, 278, 350, 450. Positive bat value versus right-hand pitching. 2-2 count on him, the pitch. And that ball is belted! Deep right field, forget about it! Tris Speaker, with his second home run of the World Series, extends the Lisboa lead to 3. We go top 6 now. The Miami Tamps looking to cut into that lead. And they've got Musial on first and the Babe at the plate. The pitch. Little looper into center. That ball's going to get down. Musial will head to second and stop there. 2 on and nobody out now for Willie Mays here in the 6th. 2-2 count on Mays. The pitch. Mays grounds it to short. Fielded to second. 1 over to first. Double play. Lisboa gets the twin killing to take a lot of the helium out of the rally here in the 6th. And that rally yields nothing. We go bottom 6 now. Free Dave Brown on the attack. And he's doing so against a new pitcher here, Carl Hubble. Hubble, a one-time stalwart in the rotation, now oftentimes being deployed from the bullpen. And he'll face Tony Gwynn. Now, Hubble is a reverse splits pitcher, meaning his back-of-card ratings are better versus right-handed batters than they are versus left. We'll see if that is a factor here as Gwynn faces him in the bottom of the 6th. But first, a pickoff. Nothing doing. 0-1 count. The pitch. And Gwynn gets into one. Right fielder's not moving because he knows it's gone. A pull side power display by Tony Gwynn extends the lead to 7-2. We go top 9 now. We've got the Lisboa Hubble in to try to hammer this one down. And he's facing that exact same matchup that we saw earlier that resulted in a Gwynn home run. We see that again. And this time, Lisboa is doing it with a 4-run lead and only needing 1 out to hammer down a Game 3 victory. 0-1 count in the pitch. Fly ball to center. Should be playable. And it's a diving grab! Mays slow rolls it as he approaches the fly ball and makes it all Jim Edmondsy as he grabs it in spectacular fashion to close out the game. A 7-3 victory for the Lisboa and Arenas, claiming a 2-1 series lead as we head to Game 4. Let's take a look at what happened. So Free Dave Brown's Greg Maddox gave a very quality showing here. Spreading out 8 base runners over 7 innings, only yielding 2 runs, despite the fact that he was giving up a lot of contact, only getting 3 strikeouts. Hubble came on for a mostly effective 2 innings of relief. However, he did give up 4 runners in two innings, only yielding 1 of them across the plate. And then on the other side, we saw Walter Johnson that struggled. We saw Walter Johnson that couldn't get through the 3rd. Gave up a homer, 5 hits, 5 runs, didn't walk anyone. Just really ran into trouble with the batted balls in play. Hubble came on in long relief and was able to mostly hold it down. His control costing him a bunch of base runners, only yielding 1 hit in 4 1/3, but giving up 2 runs. And then Feller came on to close it down. So 3 minutes to the sim as we move to Game 4. We are expecting the Miami Tamps to throw their Warren Spawn, being opposed by Lisboa's famous John Smoltz. The famed John Smoltz, who knifed through the DLL playoffs in 2055 and is attempting to do so again, this time in the Perfect League playoffs in 2056. Let's pull up John Smoltz's numbers one more time. Here's John Smoltz as a starter. We see 928 Perfect League innings with a FIP well above league average, with a WHIP well above league average, strikeouts below league average, walks above league average. Now, home run suppression. Home run suppression is where he can hang his hat that he's slightly better than league average. And he'll oppose Warren Spawn of the Miami Tamps. So anyone who had the Tamps in 4 or 5, go ahead and shred your tickets. The Lisboa tickets in 5, 6, or 7, still looking strong. But it's anyone's series, as we're 2-1 heading to Game 4. This was quite the crop of competitors this week in Perfect. You've got Manchego Cheese, who was a returning PEL champion, has been in PEL for a number of weeks now. This was an interesting team, the Edmondston River Sharks. Check this team out with me. This is a topperless team. I should say Ty Cobb-less, because he does have Pedro, unless that's a different Pedro. No, that's face of the franchise. So it's a Ty Cobb-less team. I mean, speaking of Ty Cobb-less, this is a Tony Gwynn-less team that was able to make the playoffs in Perfect League. Starting 9 right-handed batters versus right, and 9 right-handed batters versus left. Running out a rotation a pretty meta rotation here with the 4 horsemen that you see in most rotations plus Seaver. Got a team of the year, Bieber, in there as well. But this team was able to make the playoffs. So kudos to the Edmondston River Sharks. And winding out the field here, and we'll quickly get to the sim. We had the Greenwich Time Lords, another PEL champion, 2-time PEL champion in the past. We had Quanah Condors Golden Gophers, champion in the past as well. Let me know in the chat if I'm missing anyone else who has won a title. I know Durham Los Toros has been in the neighborhood a lot. It looks like they haven't made, and they haven't won a Perfect League title, but they've certainly been there a whole host of times. All right, let's load up our sim here. So we're going to be moving on to day 217 in the league year. And loaded up we go. Here we are, game 4. Let me just put in that Lisboa took game 3. And there we see him. John Smoltz, no stranger to playoff lore, will look to add to it here in game 4. A successful Smoltz outing could give Lisboa the upper hand in the series. They're able to stretch it to a 3-1 lead. He'll start off against Ty Cobb. Full count on him. It's unpleasant weather, we are told, with rain in the forecast. Here's the pitch to Cobb. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. Smoltz starts off the game by striking out the best hitter in the game. Hot start for John. We go bottom 1, and Lisboa has visions of taking an early lead here. Try to do it against Warren Spahn, who will face Willie Mays. Warren Spahn, one of the better pitchers in this game. Definitely weaker versus right-handed hitting, as you can see in the bottom right of your screen. He'll face Mays here with 2 on and 1 out. The pitch. Mays crunches that one deep left. It's deep, playable. Should be deep enough to score the run. He's going to try. He's on his way. They won't even throw. Make it 1-0 Lisboa here in the first. Still in the first, and Joe DiMaggio comes up looking to drive in that runner on second with 2 away. Joe DiMaggio not run nearly as often as he once was, but still can get the job done. As you see in the bottom right corner of your screen, a very positive bat value for Joe DiMaggio versus left-hand pitching, driven primarily by his extremely green slugging. 1-0 count to Joe now. The pitch. Joe up the middle, a base hit. Runner around third. He's going to try to score. Throw coming all the way through. Will not be in time. DiMaggio takes second on the throw. And the Lisboa and Arenas take an early 2-0 lead. Still bottom 1. Warren Spahn struggling to nail down that third out. And he'll now look for it against Cal Ripken, with DiMaggio on second and Gwynn on first. 2-2 count the pitch. Ripken laces a base hit to left. It's going all the way to the wall. DiMaggio around third. He'll score. Gwynn around third. He's going to try to score, and the shortstop boycotting the play allows it to happen. Make it 4-0 Lisboa here in the first. We're 8-0, and we're only in the fourth. Lisboa pouring it on. They have chased Warren Spahn and now face a long reliever in Tom Seaver. Didn't mean to rhyme that. And Seaver will face Joe DiMaggio. As good as Joe DiMaggio's VL numbers are, his VR is not quite the same story. OBP sinks a ton. Slugging's still strong, so he can still run into a ball every now and then. Maybe he'll do that here in the bottom of the fourth. The pitch from Seaver, and he crunches it! Deep center field, make it 9! Joe DiMaggio goes 454 feet beyond the straightaway center field wall, adding style points to Free Dave Brown's lead. We go bottom 5 now. Seaver's still in the game, working against Willie Mays. The pitch. And Mays gets into one. This one's going off the scoreboard. Make it 11-0. Call the Coast Guard. Call the FBI. Call the CIA. Because the Lisboa and Arenas are killing the Miami Tamps. It's now 13-0. And Lisboa's looking for more. They're looking for more, and they've got 2 on and none out. Now, the good news for the Tamps, if there is any, is that Ivan Rodriguez is at the plate and can't hit a lick versus right-hand pitching. And Bruce Sutter, definitely not bad versus right-hand batting. So Sutter will face Ivan here with 1 away in the 7th, 2 on in scoring position. The pitch to Irod, and he laces a single up the middle. 1 run scores. Here comes a second run. That'll follow in its place, making it 15-0. Check that perfect team rule book to figure out what the mercy rule is, because we got to be approaching it. Bottom 8 now. I'm at least slightly shocked here that the Tamps are still throwing actual pitchers. I remember when the Cubs blew out the Marlins in the 0-3 LCS in Game 2. I think that got into position pitcher territory, position player territory, and the Tamps aren't resorting to that yet here in the 8th. And they'll have their David Price face Lisboa's Fire Cobb. 1-2 count, the pitch. Cobb crushes it. I have no words. I have no words for what we're witnessing here in Game 4. Lisboa now up 16-0. 2 touchdowns and a safety, and they're working on a shutout versus the Tamps. 1-0 count now, the pitch. And that ball's crushed around the foul pole. Add 3 more to the tally. Someone's mom somewhere is saying, make sure you save some for the next game. DiMaggio with 4 runs in the ball game. We go top 9 now. Lisboa trying to put this one to bed. They'll have to protect a 19-run lead, and will turn to Tom Seaver to do so. 2 on, 2 out for Cobb. The pitch to Cobb. Little looper to center. Another hot dog diving catch for Willie Mays. He's got a penchant and a flair for the dramatic. And I don't even know. I've run out of hyperbole to describe what we've just witnessed here in Game 4. 19-0. The runners are frozen to the base paths, too embarrassed to head to the clubhouse. Let's check the autopsy report to see what went down. We'll start on the Free Dave Brown side of the box score, and you see Mr. Playoffs himself, John Smoltz, tossed 7 2/3 inning scoreless baseball. 7 2/3 inning scoreless baseball in the World Series. 114 pitches. able to effectively scatter 9 base runners over that period of time and logging 7 strikeouts. A pretty big number for Smoltz. Tom Seaver came in, shut it down. Spread a couple hits around 4 outs, 3 of them being strikeouts. As we turn our focus to the Miami side of the box, here's where things get a bit ugly. Spawn couldn't get out of the first. 5 earned runs. Didn't give up a homer. Lots of rough BABIP there. Satchel Paige came in. Not much better. 5 hits to go with 5 outs and 3 more runs on the scoreboard. Seaver got beat up. Feller gave up a run. Suter gave up 3 runs, only getting 1 out. David Price got killed. And then Hoffman comes on. The last thing you want to see when you're losing 19-0 is for Trevor Hoffman to head into the game at that point. That is no Gouda. No Gouda at all. So Miami, in addition to now being down 3-1, as I update my graphic in the top right, used a ton of pitchers in this game. So one thing I want to go do is I want to look at their bullpen to see how many rested arms do they have. Will this be a factor in Game 5? Let's go check. And we do have a problem. We've got a significant problem here. It's going to be Maddox on the hill, and he's only got Rivera and Hoffman anywhere near full steam to get him to the finish line. So that one pitch that Hoffman threw in Game 4, that one pitch cost him 16% on his pitching fatigue level. Not great. And you see a whole host of arms that you could potentially hope for. You got a tough left-handed bat coming up. It'd be great to have David Price out there. You have a starter not go too long. It'd be great to have Hubble around, or Feller. And none of these guys are going to be able to play. It's going to be Maddox, rooting for Maddox to go deep, and to go Hoffman, Rivera to close it down. So an unenviable position for the Miami Tamps as we head to Game 5, as they're now staring at a 3-1 series deficit. I mean, that's a situation where I'm guessing that the out-of-the-park leverage index or leverage metric, whatever you call it, saying that this was a playoff game, dissuaded it from using position players to pitch. But in that situation, if that's your team, throw your backup catcher out there. Throw your short side platoon left fielder. Last thing you need is to zap your bullpen on a lost cause, and that's what just happened to the Miami Tamps. So we're 1 minute to this sim. However, if this is a win for Free Dave Brown, then this sim could take a whole lot longer than 1 minute to come in. So we shall see what happens. As we look at the pitching matchup we expect the Tamps' Greg Maddox to go up against Free Dave Brown's Pedro Martinez. Pedro, who lit up Game 1 of this series with an excellent quality start, going 7, only giving up 2. As you see from Dave's playoffs here, he's been alternating good outing, bad outing. He started the playoffs with a 2 earned run appearance, then 5, then 2, then 5, then 2. If the pattern holds, we'll see Pedro give up 5 here. But we are on the cusp. We are on the cusp of crowning a perfect league champion. We are on the cusp of culminating and finalizing another week in perfect team. where we've got one team from each Diamond League, the one champion from each Diamond League promoting up to perfect, the 10 worst teams in each Diamond League relegating down to gold, 4 gold teams coming up. So time will tell. If Friday Brown were able to win this series, he would be the 3rd DLL member to win a World Series in Perfect League. As I shared in the Open, this is his 8th Perfect League season and his 3rd attempt in the Perfect League playoffs. So no stranger to this moment. In past times, he probably just didn't have Smoltz to lean on. Tohan75 saying he wish he wasn't promoting to Diamond. That's not the attitude. Find a way to win when you're there. Let's tweak that roster. DM me what you're working with. We'll figure out a way to keep you in Diamond. A couple of my real life buds who play this game, they were on that same gold diamond carousel as well, where they'd go down to gold, they'd run up 110 wins, and then get to diamond, and then face immediate relegation. And over time, and through mission completion, and through roster construction, and through tweaking, they've both gotten to the point now where they've gone a couple weeks in a row within one of the toughest Diamond Leagues, if not the toughest Diamond League, DLL, and avoided relegation in each week. TextCow22, wait till next year calling them out by name. Just narrowly lost the division to Fabic. I believe that game or that division was decided by 1 game. So still don't have a sim yet. We'll continue to stay tuned. We're about 3 minutes late now. Now we have been faked out by fake long sims in the past. On our broadcast 2 weeks ago, maybe it was 3, we had an 8-minute sim come back and not decide the World Series. So we will not make any judgments. We will not get on our jump to conclusions mat quite yet. We'll let this play out, and then once the sim does come in, we will see what has transpired. Chuck KC finishing 71 and 91 in gold, best record in gold in 3 tries. Keep iterating, man. Keep building to that team. Figure out what your next piece is. Figure out what player you're playing today that doesn't belong on your roster, that's really holding you back. That pitcher who's in your rotation who either should be in your pen or off your team. Or the fact that your defense is just not at a caliber where it needs to be to support the entire house of cards. Yeah, we have seen, as Lipitor Kid is pointing out, we saw a team get to the perfect league playoffs with no Gwynn and no Cobb. Never thought I'd see the day, but that day was today. So still simming here, still not back. RNG helps. RNG is your best friend and it's your worst enemy. But you can't control that. So focus on what you can control. Focus on what you can do. What data and what educated decisions can you leverage to build the very best team based on your current roster, your perfect point balance, what levers are afforded to you, your ballpark. Yeah, so Real Teddy Yo, I did make a promise that if he was able to win the Perfect League World Series without Cobb and Gwynn, that he'd get a dinner. And while he wasn't able to pull that off, I think getting to the playoffs alone is definitely worthy of some form or fashion of reward. That is incredibly impressive. API can control the weather. We learned that this week on the Discord. Can and does control the weather. DishNet's got the hard task of finding a room, finding space for Cobb and Pedro. Sorry to hear it, man. Real tough task there. Feel terrible. You have to find a way to squeeze those guys onto your roster. Everyone shed an extra tear tonight for DishNet. Let's check on our sim here. Still not back. We're at 7-minute territory. This was the great fake out of 2054. It was right around now. Yeah, Nuke Lelouch with a great observation here. The longer this long sim goes, the better the odds are to squeeze one more pack drop. Take down the out of the park servers, and we just have unlimited pack drops the rest of the night. My recording with Jay Mallet has to be pushed and canceled. Who knows what downstream effects happen, but the pack drops are flowing. As always, I'll reiterate my request to find some way around this long sim. That would be an excellent addition for PT22, or if it was a minor tweak enough for PT21. So Jammed asking how the new Rose did in Perfect League. I don't have enough data for it, but the anecdotal evidence I've seen, the couple back of cards that I've seen people pull, have been pretty favorable. I want to say one was downright dominant, but one thing that I'll caution is that short week data, the data that comes from a card that drops within that week, I have learned to not trust. Don't trust it, period. Because who knows what's going on with the baseline, who knows how the system is going to absorb a number of cards being added in at the same time. And the example that I'll give is Mariano. So Mariano Rivera, who is now pretty much everyone's locked in Perfect League closer, had absolutely horrible week one data, partial week data, and had people pontificating whether it was his extreme ground ball profile or there was some other reason why that card couldn't be successful. And anyone who rushed to judgment has been proven wrong. So let's get Rose into a full week of data. Let's get some people rocking a 700 plate appearance for him, whether it's in high level diamond or in perfect, and then we'll be able to start to tell the tale of what Pete Rose is. And then next week we'll have him within our matchup analyzer here as well. Yeah, wait till next year. I saw that box score. Wait till next year as Mariano gave up 9 runs while retiring 1 batter in the playoffs today. Yikes. Eleanor Frisbee asking if there's a 100 Rose anywhere. The answer is no. Highest one we have right now is the 96 that dropped on Thursday. Sim's still not back. We're at 10 minutes. We'll go back to our Perfect League stats. We haven't looked at our pitching league leaders yet. As we look at our league leaders for ERA, you see the four horsemen. The only one of the four horsemen missing here is Maddox. Probably not surprised by that. But we have Pedro, Walter, and Spawn showing up at the top of the ERA leaderboard. Spawn with 4 of them. That's at least slightly surprising. 4 of the 7. And then from a save perspective, a scattering of Rivera and Hoffman. No surprise there. Overall WAR, Spawn and Pedro exclusively. I mean, look at these innings pitched numbered from Spawn. Logging 250 innings. What a horse. Thong Me saying that he'd love to see us do a rundown of the best, most efficient way to pull data. I think that's a great idea for a future stream. You know, Kidneys and I on our Thursday stream, we're always bouncing around, kicking around different ideas for how we cap the show. For example, last week we capped it with bronze tournament data. In other weeks, we've capped it with Park Factors 101. We've capped it with all sorts of different things, but extracting data, kind of doing a deep dive on the best way to get into that game. That wouldn't be a bad idea. And Kidneys in the chat. Look at this Bob Feller. 138 walks on the season. You don't often see Feller thrown out 33 times as a starter. So that's at least part of what's driving that. All right, let's check in on our sim. Still not back yet. Yeah, M-Dub asking how I did in DLL. And I'll say this. DLL is the meat grinder of meat grinders. Like, Perfect League is a meat grinder in its own right, and it's extremely hard, extremely challenging. But I have personally had a much harder time finding success in DLL than I have in Perfect League. If I was on my account right now, I'd show you the graphic, which is startling. I'll post it into Perfect League channel when this is all done. But my playoff making percent in Perfect League is around 80%, and my playoff appearance percentage in DLL is less than 50%. So those guys are tough. My team won 88 games this year. I think it was 88, that or 89. Did not make the playoffs. And I've now been back in DLL for 4 weeks after my extended stay in Perfect League. And I have made the playoffs exactly 1 of those 4 weeks. So I'm having a very hard time finding success in DLL right now. But that doesn't mean I'm stopping trying. You know, next week I'm bringing out some new mercenaries to help with the cause. I picked up a Wade Boggs today. I picked up a Madison Bumgarner today. And so next week I'm going to try to make a run, get to those playoffs. But, you know, so much of it also has to do with divisional alignment. And last week when I missed the playoffs, I had Mac Jacks and his 3 Perfect League championships in division. I had the Blue Farm Bombers and his Perfect League championship in division. I had Mac Jacks Alt, which his team certainly isn't as good as his main team, but his tactics still are. So that was just a grueling week. I think I ended up somewhere around 85, 86 wins. Not enough to make the playoffs. And then this week, I had another meat grinder. I had Advanced Razors in division in Talati's team. I had I Am Snowball. Hey, who ended up winning DLL? Someone in DLL, post in the chat. Let me know who won. I know Snowball was still in at last check. I know Brooklyn Beatdown was still in at last check. Bert. So Somerset Dolphins, another excellent team, a team that had an extremely long stay within the Perfect League. They are the DLL champion of this week, and we'll be heading back to Perfect. Dolphin Man. The Frogman says Dolphin Man. Yeah, I don't know if I've... No, I bought Shifted's Madison. I didn't buy your Madison. But I bought the Boggs SE today. So whoever was selling that, I picked that one up. Yeah, so hopefully next week's a better week for me. Sim's still not in yet. Yeah, the Felix that just dropped last week, if you want to know what I think about it and what Kidneys thinks about it, you can jump around the stream that we had last Thursday for This Week in Perfect Team, where we go long form on it. I don't expect that card to be too impactful at the highest level. I expect that card to be a slightly worse version than the Bob Gibson card that we got recently. And I'll show you the Bob Gibson stats. Here we go. So if you look in your bottom right corner, you see Bob Gibson, the reliever. I've got 1,000 innings of him. And as a reliever, his FIP pushing above league average. Whip above league average. Walks a bit of a problem. And then as you look at how that breaks down VR and VL, the VR basically puts him at league average, still with a control problem, and the VL puts him into toxic territory. FIP over 5, whip well over 1.5, walks out of control. So Bailey, this is just PEL average of all pitchers. I think your point is good, though, that I should contextualize this for the split itself. So I'll look into how I can do that. KK Fitz not wanting to repeat her or his experience within the Perfect League. I don't blame you. Or within DLL. I don't blame you. Still waiting on the sim, and we have now gone to, what is this, 18 minutes behind on the sim. It's starting to feel like it's a foregone conclusion. So someone asking if there's Bobby Howry data within Perfect League. We've got a smidge of it, a very small bit of it, 54 innings. Definitely nothing that I would draw any conclusions off of. I wouldn't expect the whip to stay this low or the walks to stay that low. Dogberry asking how long the sim goes. And in my experience doing these broadcasts, normally our final sim is somewhere between 15 to 20 minutes. So given that we're at, what are we at? We're at 19 now. Could be any minute now. Yeah, this is my version of tap dancing. All right, I believe the sim is in as we move to day 218 of the season. So let me darken the screen. Let me get what I need to be able to update it. And then we'll see what happened in Game 5 of the World Series. Now, the stakes are high. If the Lisboa and Arenas win, it's ball game. It's curtains. It's game over. If the Miami Tamps win, we are going back to Miami. And we're doing so with a 3-2 Lisboa lead. Let's go. Game 5. Pedro on the hill for Lisboa, and he'll start the game off against Ty Cobb. .43 at game time with the wind blowing in at 11 miles per hour. 1-2 count on Cobb. Here we go. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. Second game in a row that Cobb starts out with a strikeout. We go bottom 1. And if last game was any indication, this is when Lisboa's offense will start the run train. Jackie Robinson will get the first crack at it facing Maddox, and he rifles one down the right field line off the wall. Playing the carom well as the right fielder. Gets it in time, but look at the run. Look at Ty Cobb running around third. Does so without a throw, and Cobb makes it 1-0 Lisboa. It appeared as if Jackie Robinson was caught flat-footed on that relay play and didn't even muster a throw towards the plate. Next up, Willie Mays. Jackie Robinson has found his way to third. Mays will try to drive him in for the second run. The pitch. Mays crushes that one to the gap. That's for extra bases. Make it 2-0 as Mays has himself an RBI double. Still bottom 1. Face of the franchise, Maddox, looking for that very elusive third out. And he's found himself in a moment where this game can really get away from him. So we'll use our matchup analyzer to anticipate what comes next. We've got face of the franchise, Greg Maddox, and we've got Luke Appling. As we see, the advantage here goes to the pitcher. A whole lot more green and friendly colors in the top right of our graphic than there are in the bottom right. But Appling does a good job of getting on base with that .328 on base percentage. Maddox winds and delivers, and up the middle, fielded by the shortstop, over to second to end the inning. What could have been disastrous for Miami settles at just 2, although it jumps to 3 as we head to bottom 3, and Dave is right back on the highlight train as Joe Mauer will face Maddox with 2 on, in scoring position, and only 1 away. 2-0 count. The pitch. Up the middle. Base hit. 1 run will score. Here comes the second, and he will score. Make it 5-0 Lisboa, and they're picking up where they left off yesterday. Oh my goodness. Wind burn from the time warp as we fast forwarded all the way to the top of the 9th. And it's 5-0 Lisboa. 1 out away from a World Series victory. Trying to achieve it will be Trevor Hoffman. Trevor Hoffman faces the franchise, facing Jackie Robinson for what could be our final matchup of the broadcast. Advantage to the pitcher here. 2-1 count. Hoffman comes set. The pitch. Grounder to third. He fields it. Over to first in time. The Lisboa and Arenas have won the Perfect League World Series in 5 games. They gather for interpretive dance. And after all that's said and done, it's time to party in Lisboa. Let's go to the box score and see what happened. Pedro was able to break the cycle of good game, bad game, and had his second good game in a row, going 8 2/3, only yielding 3 hits and 4 walks, and keeping Miami off the score sheet entirely, only to be finished off in that final out by Trevor Hoffman. On the Miami side, more trouble. The Tamps not able to get a good outing out of Maddox, as he yielded 10 base runners in exchange for 7 outs. Not an equation to work, as Maddox had himself a horrendous postseason, posting a .749 ERA. After him, the bullpen was able to come in and shut it down. We talked about how they were tired. They were tired, but the 3 guys who could go went, and they all did well. but the damage had already been done, and it was Pedro's day. So that is it, folks. That is our World Series champion, the Lisboa and Arenas. Cal Ripken earns MVP honors for a series in which he only batted 6 times. However, he drove in 6 runs in those 6 plate appearances. Wouldn't be my MVP vote. My MVP vote would have gone straight to and for none other than John Smoltz. "1:40 a.m. in Lisboa. Party time indeed, Jay Mallett. Party time indeed." And Free Dave Brown has surfaced. Free Dave Brown in the chat. He's going to be offering clinics on stadium design and active management at very reasonable prices. Well, that is going to do it tonight for the broadcast, everyone. I thank you all for joining. I thank you all for contributing to the chat, contributing to the broadcast. I'm almost sorry that we didn't get more time, as this one ends in 5 games as I update our graphic in the top right. But we will be back next week. We will be back next week as Free Dave Brown tries to defend his perfect league title, as he's got one of these on his way to Lisboa land. But congratulations to Free Dave Brown for his first Perfect League title. Congratulations to everyone within the Perfect Team universe for the titles that you're able to win this week, at whatever level they were won at. So with that said, we'll go ahead and wrap things there, and we'll see you next Sunday.